So we're going to identify what the trade-weighted exchange rate, the nominal exchange rate, and the real exchange rate are. We're also going to compare the differences between the nominal rate and the real exchange rate, as well as look at what trade-weighted exchange rates actually are and their significance. So let's get started. There are three different exchange rates, and the first is the one you know, nominal exchange rate. It's the price of one currency in terms of another currency. It's not adjusted for inflation or price levels. So this is the exchange rate you get at the bank if you're taking money to the bank and you're exchanging it for another currency because you want to go on vacation or something. And this is similar to the nominal interest rate, right? The nominal interest rate, like you know, is the interest rate you get at the bank if you want to save money there. It's different from the real interest rate, right? Because the real interest rate tells you how much value or purchasing power did your money actually go up or go down by. And so the real exchange rate does the same thing. The real exchange rate reflects a currency's value in terms of its real purchasing power. It compares the relative price of domestic and foreign goods, and it's adjusted for differences in price levels between countries. In other words, we want our purchasing power of the exchange rate to be known to us as well, and that's why we have the real exchange rate. The trade-weighted exchange rate measures the price of one currency against a basket of currencies, and it weighs the exchange rate by the country's share in trade. It's a more comprehensive indicator of a country's currency competitiveness. So the trade-weighted exchange rate exists for us to compare to other trade-weighted exchange rates in other countries. More details on that later. So let's start with what we know. Well, we know that a real exchange rate compares the relative price of two countries' products, right? So the real exchange rate is just the nominal exchange rate times the domestic price index divided by the foreign price index. So why do we make that calculation? Well, it's because higher foreign prices relative to domestic prices means the purchasing power of our currency is lower than its nominal terms, hence a lower real exchange rate. So when you think about an exchange rate, why do we exchange our currency for a foreign currency? Well, it's because we want to buy foreign goods and services. And so if we know that foreign goods and services have gotten relatively more expensive than domestic goods and services, then we know that our purchasing power after we make the currency exchange has decreased, right? Milk cost $5 in America, but maybe $2 in Canada. After exchanging our money from Canadian into American dollars, we're not able to buy as much milk anymore as a result. Okay, so that's why a real exchange rate is lower, because it represents lower purchasing power than our nominal exchange rate. Well, what about lower foreign prices? Well, if there are lower foreign prices relative to domestic prices, then that means the purchasing power of our currency is higher than its nominal terms, hence a higher real exchange rate. And so it means our currency is more valuable. So let's pretend you want to go out to a restaurant in Canada and a meal costs $20. Well, what if you can get that same meal at a much cheaper price in Thailand? And so you're going to Thailand for a vacation. And so your money has larger purchasing power in Thailand after we've made the currency exchange. And so as a result, your real exchange rate should be higher than your nominal exchange rate because your money is more valuable. So that's why we make the differentiation between real exchange rate and nominal exchange rate. Nominal exchange rates just tell us how much is $1 going to get me of another currency. That's it. It doesn't say anything about the purchasing power of that $1 in another country. And so there's an important note here, and it's that exchange rates quantify the value of one currency in terms of another currency. And so when you need more of a foreign currency to buy 1 unit of your own currency, it indicates that your currency has become stronger or more valuable compared to the foreign currency. And so a lot of students don't understand this, so pay attention. If I were to draw a graph that says the quantity of dollars and my price is actually going to be yen per dollar. In other words, how much yen does it cost for me to buy a dollar, right? The exchange rate between the dollar and the yen. And so what currency is this the market for? Well, we look at the x-axis. This is the market for dollars in terms of the yen. And so if at equilibrium currently, the equilibrium is 100 yen for a dollar. Okay? And all of a sudden, let's pretend there's just a shift in demand. Okay? And as a result, the price has gone up from 100 to 110 yen. And so what this shows is it now costs more yen to buy a dollar. And so American dollar has become more valuable. It's become more expensive. It's appreciated. Okay? At the same time, the yen depreciated against the dollar. It's now weaker, right? Because now it costs more yen to buy $1. And so this is the example. If yesterday $1 could be exchanged for 100 Japanese yen, and today it can be exchanged for 110 Japanese yen, then the US dollar has strengthened against the yen. Conversely, the yen has weakened against the dollar. Okay? Now, the last thing we want to go over is the trade-weighted exchange rate. A trade-weighted exchange rate is a measure in index form of the price of a currency against a basket of currencies. These are weighted according to the relative importance of the countries in the country's trade. And so what this means is the exchange rate is calculated based on the amount of trade that occurs between different countries. And so this number changes over time, and it gives a more accurate measure of the currency's international competitiveness, because at the end of the day, we exchange our domestic currency for foreign currencies because we want to make foreign purchases. And if, let's say, 30% of our purchases are made in RMB because we import from China, then our currency should reflect that. And that's what a trade-weighted exchange rate does. And so if India undertakes 3 times as much trade with China as it does with the US, the Chinese renminbi will be given 3 times as much weight in the calculation as the US dollar. And so you don't usually have to calculate, you probably never have to calculate the trade-weighted exchange rate on an exam. You just have to know what it is and its significance. And its significance is that it tells us how internationally competitive our exchange rate is.